Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here today. Now, listen, a couple of asterisks here. As you guys know, I'm actually on vacation right now. I'm up in Canada visiting the family, and a couple of things. I've been a little bit under the weather. I'm much better now than I was a few days ago, but you might hear me cacking and coughing and wheezing a little bit, and I apologize for that in advance. The other thing is, I'm not in my studio. I don't have my regular production rig. That means I may have some technical difficulties as we go through the show, but I decided I wanted to do the show while I was on vacation anyway. So listen, bunch of things to talk about here today, and here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off the show, the first half of the show, that's all going to be topics and questions that you guys have sent in to me. Now, how do you send in a topic or a question for the John Campea Show? It's really simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put that word topic in the subject line. And also, guys, really important, because a lot of you guys have been forgetting this. You've got to keep these emails to 90 words or less, or I'm not even going to bother reading them, because even if I wanted to use them, I couldn't fit them on the screen. So remember, keep them to 90 words. The shorter the better, but 90 words or less. Now, after we're done that, we're going to go into the second half of the show where we take your live questions. A couple ways to get live questions on. The main way is to use Super Chat, and if there's still time at the end of that, we'll go over to Twitter. We haven't had a lot of time for Twitter lately, but if we do, we will go to Twitter after that. Okay, with all that out of the way, by the way, how great were those two college football playoff games last night? Those were pretty damn good. Anyway, and I'm not normally a big U.S. college football guy, but I was really into those games yesterday. Okay, let's get going here with question number one. And question number one today comes to us from Shawn Smith, who writes, love the show. Why do you keep referring to a comic book genre? No one says other forms of literary adaptation like novels or genres. Comic book is merely a source material. Even disregarding the fact that movies with superheroes come in many different genres, you certainly can't lump 300, Kingsmen, Jonah Hex, Men in Black, Sin City, and Timecop into the same genre, can you? All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, Shawn. And this is actually one that comes up more often than you might think. Where people asking about, like, we talk about comic books in terms that it's a comic book genre, right? And some people take exception to that. They say that's not a genre. Now, first of all, you bring up a couple of examples in there, like 300, Sin City. I have always made a distinction between straight-up graphic novels and comic books. To me, comic books are ongoing monthly series that run throughout the year, year after year. Things like 300 are one-shot graphic novel, or Road to Perdition is a one-shot graphic novel. Sin City are a collective set, granted, but basically one-shot story graphic novels. Normally speaking, for myself, I don't usually include those or talk about those as comic book movies per se. I usually just refer to them as, based on a graphic novel, whatever. But I usually separate out the standard superhero comic book genre with ongoing series versus graphic novels. That's just the way I approach it. But even still, you still would raise the point about, well, can you even call it a genre? Is that an accurate thing to call it really off the top there? Because, look, it's not like it's just from the source material. Well, let's take a look at the definition of what a genre is, okay? So let's bring this up. A genre is a category of artistic composition in music or literature. Now, this is the important part. Characterized by similarities in form, style, or subject matter. Let me rephrase that again. A category or artistic composition in a music or literature characterized by similarities in form, style, or subject matter. Okay, so if we look at this as a baseline definition for what a genre is, then I really don't see the problem in categorizing comic book movies as genre. Now, and let's be really specific here. There's no scientific 100% pure definition of genre. It's a little bit of a loose term that can kind of mean whatever it is you think it means. Now, can you say, well, ignore the fact that different comic book movies come in different genres? Yeah, but comedies come in different genres as well. You got slapstick comedies, you got dramatic comedies, you got rom-coms, you got whatever. Like murder mysteries, you can't just call them murder mysteries. Some murder mysteries are comedy, some murder mysteries are drama, some murder mysteries are suspense, whatever. Like, genre is kind of a loose term, and therefore I feel very comfortable taking that definition of genre that we just read, understanding that this is a similarity of type kind of movie series, then I feel very comfortable calling the comic book movie genre a genre. Can they also be dramatic? Yes. Can they also be comedic? Absolutely, we've seen that. Can they also be suspenseful or whatever? Sure, they can. But that doesn't take away from the fact that if you take the literal definition of the word genre, I believe the comic book movies completely apply. So, yeah, I'm going on with that. I do believe that you can legitimately call comic book movies a genre. I believe it adequately fits the definition. But hey, you guys might have a different opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Mike Quevedo, who writes, "Hey John," well hello there Mike. "Do you think Robert Rodriguez and Sony will ever get the Fire and Ice live-action remake to finally start rolling? Maybe if Rodriguez's Alita Battle Angel and or Sony's upcoming Masters of the Universe, as it is also sword and sorcery genre, do solid business, it will get off the ground? What say you? Thanks and keep up the great work." Yeah, so for some of you who aren't really familiar with this, back in 2014, I think it was, it got announced that Sony acquired the rights to this graphic novel, and there was an animated film of it as well, of Fire and Ice. And the basic story, I saw the animated thing once. And the basic story is there's this evil kingdom, this ice kingdom on this moving glacier with this evil king, and he kidnaps a local tribe's princess, and a hero wearing nothing but a furry G-string goes rushing off to rescue her. I mean, that's the basic idea of it. But anyway, back in 2014, Sony got the rights to this. And the plan, at least as I understand it, the original idea was that they were going to turn this thing into a new franchise, a new fantasy action adventure franchise. That was going to be what they were going for. And Robert Rodriguez was brought on to direct. Nothing has happened on it since. Since then, Robert Rodriguez signed up for Johnny Quest, but then he left that to do Alita Battle Angel. And as far as I know, right now there are still no solid plans to do Fire and Ice. As far as I know, and again, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, there are no solid plans to do Fire and Ice, a movie, let alone a franchise and stuff like that. So, could that change, though, if, say, Alita Battle Angel is a huge hit, and then if, say, like Masters of the Universe, the He-Man movie, if that movie even happens, if that comes out and is a big hit, could that increase the odds for Fire and Ice to get moved into production? It's possible. It's totally possible. But honestly, at this point, I've heard nothing spoken about this movie in about 2 years. So I don't know if they've just shelved the plans altogether, or if, like maybe what you're suggesting, they're kind of waiting to see how these other kind of properties do, and then maybe move forward with it. Maybe, possibly, I'm not sure. I wouldn't hold my breath, though, at this point. At this point, I think the chances of a Fire and Ice movie are pretty slim. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the animated version of it. I thought the animated version of it was really lame. Artistically, it's gorgeous. Totally gorgeous. But I just didn't dig the story myself. But I know I know the animation has a lot of fans out there. Maybe you're one of them, and maybe you're one of those people who'd be really looking forward to seeing it if they ever do it. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Lucas Kroll, who writes, "Due to The Last Jedi getting some mixed reviews from some fans, I personally loved it. If the Solo movie bombs, how is Kathleen Kennedy's situation at Lucasfilm?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And you're not the only one asking this question. Because look, first of all, what is Kathleen Kennedy's position like right now? It's pretty damn good right now. Under her, Lucasfilm has put out 3 films. All of them are in the $1 billion club. One of them is in the $2 billion club. One of them just passed the $1 billion mark a few days ago and is just keep climbing. So right now, she's golden. As far as the execs at Disney are concerned, Kathleen Kennedy is completely golden right now. However, and let me preface this by saying everybody knows I am a big Kathleen Kennedy fan. I've been a fan of Kathleen Kennedy as a movie exec for like 20 years. The work she's done with Spielberg and all that kind of stuff as well. I've been a big fan of Kathleen Kennedy for a long time. And I still am. And I have liked to loved every single Star Wars movie that's come out under her reign so far. I love The Force Awakens. I loved Rogue One. I really liked to borderline love The Last Jedi. Everybody knows I had my issues with it, but overall I love the film, and I thought it was really ballsy and gutsy. That's just my opinion. But here's the thing, though. Before we even start talking about Solo and what happens to Solo, the one area that Kathleen Kennedy, and remember, I worship at the altar of Kathleen Kennedy, but the one area, and you may have heard me talk about this before, the one area that she has struggled with, and this is one of the most important parts of her job because she is an exec. She's the exec there. The part that she has clearly struggled with has been maybe one of the most important parts of her job, which is hiring directors that she is 100% sure are completely clear on what her vision is for the movies, 100% sure that she and the execs at Lucasfilm are on the same page with this director. They have a clear, 100% clear path of what this movie's going to be, then hiring on that director and letting the director go. We have seen in her short reign at Lucasfilm, her have no fewer than 3 botched studio director relationships. No fewer than 3. Some rumor, if you believe some rumors, there have been more than that, but really, for the most part, in her short reign there, 3 botched relationships with the director, whether you're talking about Lord Miller, whether you're talking about the fact that they had to bring it, like with a new Solo thing, there were some rumors about, broken communication between the studio and the director on Rogue One. Obviously, the Josh Trank situation is something that went south really fast. Then, of course, we had Trevorrow supposed to direct Episode 9. Now he's gone. Clear, and all of it's like, oh, they were on the same page as us. Well, Kathleen Kennedy, that's your job. Before you hire these guys, is to make sure you're 100% on the same page. And she has been failing at that. Oh, look, I'm a big fan, but it does not change that I will call it as I see it. She has been failing at that. Now, that's okay as far as the Disney execs go, because the bottom line is all the movies have been insanely successful. But now let's move into a hypothetical situation. Let's say now Solo comes out, and by the way, there is nothing to suggest Solo is going to be anything but a hit. But let's entertain the question. What happens if Solo comes out and just falls flat on its face? What if Solo comes out, makes $400 million at the box office, which for a lot of films would be considered a smash hit, but not for anything with the word Star Wars associated with it, makes $400 million at the box office, which after all the reshoots means that a Solo movie would actually lose the studio money. Let's say the critics don't like it, the fans don't like it. Let's just say Solo comes out of the gate and falls flat on its face. What happens then? You've often heard me use the term that winning cures everything, and it completely does. Winning does cure everything. But here's the thing, because when you win and you succeed, problems that you have tend to become unimportant. Problems that you have tend to start to get overlooked. But the other problem with that is when things start to fail, things that were considered small issues before suddenly become big issues. And here's what happens. Let's say it's a failure. Well, now all of a sudden, this problem I believe that Kathleen Kennedy has had with working with other directors and getting directors on board and being on the same page, if Solo suddenly fails, I believe that issue becomes a big issue. That might be an issue right now that the people at Disney and the execs there are willing to brush under the rug and not really worry about all that much right now. And I could totally see why, and I could totally understand why. However, if that's not the case, and they don't get into success with this film and all this kind of good stuff, let's say they don't do the things that they need to do. Let's say that, everything starts to go wrong and all that kind of stuff. I believe then at that point, the good folks over at Disney are going to look at these, what were considered small problems before, and start to see them in a much bigger light. Now, on its surface, it feels preposterous to say that if under Kathleen Kennedy's reign, they put out 4 films, 3 of them are smash hits and only 1 of them didn't work, to then say Kathleen Kennedy might be on thin ice. It feels preposterous to say that, 1 out of 4. But, again, it's not the issue of 1 out of 4. It's the issue that there's already some issues going on between how Kathleen Kennedy manages and hires directors. And if Solo flops, that issue, I believe, is going to become a bigger issue and will have to be addressed. And so I will say this, as much as I love Kathleen Kennedy and I want her to reign at Lucasfilm for a long time, if Solo flops, it's not just going to be Solo that's the problem. It's going to be these other little issues that haven't been considered big deals by the studios yet, but they will become big deals. And I believe Kathleen Kennedy would be on thin ice. I really do. Now, this all becomes moot if Solo comes out and makes $900 million at the box office. Critics like it, fans like it, whatever. If that happens, then none of this is an issue. Then none of this is even worth talking about. But if it flops, I'm telling you right now, I won't be surprised if within a year after Solo comes out, if Kathleen Kennedy steps away and they bring in somebody else to head up Lucasfilm. That's just where I think, I'm not saying that's what should happen. I'm not saying that's what will happen. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if that happens at this point. So anyway, that's just the way I'm kind of seeing that right now. All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. By the way, speaking of Star Wars, don't forget, it is Tuesday. And even though I am on vacation, we are going to be having a Star Wars Talk Tuesday today at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What time is that? That's 9 a.m. Bye, Ann. Ann's going out shopping. That's a 9, 10, 11, no, it's 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Star Wars Talk Tuesday is a little bit later today. Keep your eyes open for that. Okay, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Jojo Ashen, who writes, "Hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Jojo. With the recent news that Rian Johnson could start filming his trilogy this June, when do you anticipate the first film will be released? 2019, 2020? Do you think that it's a good idea, pardon me, to be filming this movie before episode 9? Thanks a lot for the question, man. And let's get to the last part of your question first. Is it a good idea to be filming this movie before episode 9? Absolutely. Because remember, they've already announced that this new set of movies that Rian Johnson is doing is a totally new thing. It's not connected to the main saga. So what happens in episode 9 and all that kind of stuff is completely detached from what Rian Johnson is going to be doing with these movies. So really, there's no reason not to start shooting. If they know they're ready for them, they know they want to do them, then just move ahead with them. There's nothing to stop them. Now, could it come out in 2019? I doubt it. That seems pretty short notice. Not to mention, they're going to have a little film called Star Wars Episode 9 coming out in 2019. 2020 is possible. They could be looking at Obi-Wan for that. But here's the thing. I've said for a long time that I don't believe that Star Wars will go to 2 movies a year. I think this Rian Johnson trilogy kind of suggests that maybe they are. I mean, let's say even if they don't move forward with Star Wars Episode 10, 11, and 12 in the next couple of years, even if they don't start moving forward with that in the next couple of years, they'll still have I know they still want to do a Boba Fett movie of some sort. Whether they'll do it or not, we'll have to wait and see, but I know they've wanted to do one. We already know they're looking at doing an Obi-Wan movie, and that might be a 2-parter, who knows? And now with this Rian Johnson trilogy, it does kind of seem like they're setting the table to move into a 2 movies a year kind of a scenario. And we'll just have to see how it goes. So yeah, I think it's totally fine. I think the earliest we'll see it is probably 2020 would be the first one. And yeah, I have got no problem with them shooting this before episode 9 because they're completely divorced from each other. So I don't really see an issue there. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Trojan of Narnia, who writes, Infinity War is going to open on May 4th, and I'm anticipating it making a lot of money, perhaps even $1 billion, and being one of the biggest movies of the year. However, if I am not mistaken, Solo is supposed to open in May as well. I would think that Disney opening both of those huge movies within the same month would be a mistake. Your thoughts? Well, thanks a lot, Trojan of Narnia. And to be honest with you, this question has come up a number of times on the show, but people keep wanting to asking because I think people just still are finding out, hey, wait a minute, Solo's supposed to come out the same month as Infinity War? Isn't that a mistake? It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. The way the box office works today, as long as you're not opening within 1 week of another major film, I think you're okay. Really, I honestly think you're okay. As long as, Infinity War isn't opening on the 7th and Solo's opening on the 14th. As long as they're not 1 week apart from each other, then I think it's totally fine. I really do. When you look at the way the box office trends are today and how week 1 to week 2 to week 3 really changes and upheaval happens, I really don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. And again, I think it could be a question of momentum. If people go to see one and they really loved it and have a good time, and then another big blockbuster's out a week or two later, maybe they'll want to even be more encouraged to go out and see the movies again. So honestly, I don't think it's an issue. I think they're going to be totally fine with that, and I don't think it's going to hurt them one way or the other, to be honest with you. All right. Oh, wait, is that? Yeah, that's it. That's it for the pre-selected questions, guys. Thank you to all of you guys who sent those in. We're going to head over now to the live questions that you guys have been busy sending in to me here. But before I do, let me do my 1-minute commercial break here, where I shamelessly plug, admittedly, the one thing that really keeps the lights on around here, and that is my Patreon campaign. Listen, guys, do me a favor. If you are somebody who enjoys watching my videos and you watch them every day or even just a couple times a week, do me a favor and go on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. While you're there, you'll get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter actually makes these shows possible, and bottom line too, what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter. Benefits like getting into the audio-only versions of the podcast. We've got an exclusive Facebook group where all of our Patreon supporters hang out, and we just did a Q&A there last night, which was a lot of fun. So head on over to patreon.com/John Campea, and after reading it, if you want to become a Patreon supporter, that's awesome. You're helping make this show happen. But if not, that's totally fine too. I'm just glad you're here talking about movies with us. Okay. With that out of the way, let's get on over to the live questions. I will get through as many as I can here. Pardon me. All right. And we go over to the live questions. And the first, that's not the live question at all. That's the dictionary definition of genre. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, we go on over here now. The first live question comes to us from The Gaming Prince. I like that name. Who writes, "Hey, John, Happy New Year. I'm a big fan and watch your show daily. My question is, who would you name the franchise savior for 2017? Taika Waititi for saving the Thor franchise, John Watt for bringing Spider-Man to its former glory, or Patty Jenkins for saving Wonder Woman and saving DC?" That's a tough one, because none of those are perfect. First of all, your first one was Taika Waititi, right? Thing is, the first Thor was great. The second Thor stumbled. But overall, Thor wasn't like a train wreck of a franchise. Not to mention, it's within a bigger franchise, the MCU, which is already really healthy. So Taika did a great job on Thor Ragnarok, no doubt. But I don't know that I would peg him the savior. Now, you get kind of the same possibility here for John Watt. John Watt did a great job with Spider-Man Homecoming. My second favorite comic book movie of the year is Spider-Man Homecoming. But, I like The Amazing Spider-Man a lot. A lot. Not so much The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it was like a one-film stumble. So because of that, I don't know that I'd really call it the franchise savior. And again, the Spider-Man movie is taking place inside an already very healthy, larger franchise in the MCU, so I'm not quite sure I'd peg him as the big savior. Then you got Patty Jenkins, who on one hand, single-handedly swept in and created the first all-round successful DCEU film that the box office, critics, and fans all agreed on. I mean, not everyone, obviously, but generally speaking, the box office, critics, and fans all agreed on Wonder Woman, and it's the first DCEU film to do that. Can you say she saved the DCEU by doing that, though? Well, look at Justice League. I don't know if Wonder Woman saved the DCEU. Justice League came out, which a couple years ago we were talking about how it could be the next $2 billion movie, barely crosses $650 million, which is just, I'm still hitting my head against. I still have to pinch myself that that's a reality. I cannot believe that we're talking about a Justice League movie that, number one, didn't cross $1 billion, which is crazy. Number two, didn't even make as much money as Doctor Strange, which is outlandish to me. So can you really say that Patty Jenkins saved the DCEU? I don't know. But out of the three of them, Taika Waititi, John Watt, I'm going to go with Patty Jenkins because even though I'm not sure it completely saved the DCEU, the Wonder Woman movie has become the one spark. Patty Jenkins has given us the one spark of true hope that a DCEU could move on and continue. I still think they need to reboot the damn thing. But Wonder Woman is that one movie that does give you that spark of hope, because none of the other DCEU films did that trifecta. Overall good with the box office, critics, and fans. Wonder Woman's the first film to do it. So if I have to pick just one out of those three, I'll say the closest one that comes to being a franchise savior is Patty Jenkins. But again, we don't even know if it saved the franchise or not, so we'll have to wait and see. Great question, Gaming Prince. All right, let's move on now. The next one comes to us from Beeper5, who writes, will you be doing a most anticipated of 2018 list? Yes, tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Tomorrow is my... I wanted to wait till we got into January, and I've got to do Star Wars Talk Tuesday later today. So I'm moving the my video of most anticipated films of 2018 to tomorrow. Keep your eyes open for that. Also, I'm doing a video tomorrow that a lot of you guys have been asking me about. I've already shot it, to be honest, but I just got to edit and upload it, which is the best movie card for 2018? Is it Movie Pass or is it Cinemia? So I've got that video going up tomorrow as well. So keep your eyes open tomorrow for those videos. Thanks a lot for the question, Beekeeper. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Dylan Robbins, who writes, do you think A Quiet Place could be Cloverfield 3? It is from the same studio. No, I don't think so. Are they from the same studio? Sure. But Infinity War and The Last Jedi are from the same studio too. They're both owned by Disney. So they're from the same studio too. That doesn't mean they're about to cross over. So, and besides, like, Cloverfield is God Particle. It's got a title there already. So, I mean, hey, anything can happen. We have seen crazier things done by studios, but I don't anticipate... A Quiet Place looks like a totally separate movie from the Cloverfield stuff, so I don't think so. It's an interesting theory, but I don't think that's what they're doing. Let's see, next one. Curtis Lopez writes, have you read the Star Wars comics from the 1970s, 1980s by Marvel? Yeah, I mean, obviously not all of them, but I read a whole bunch of them. To be honest with you, very few of them were any good. Most of them were just cash grabs. Like, put Star Wars on the cover and blah, blah, blah. I didn't like a lot of them, to be honest with you. And it's been over a decade since I read any of them, but none of them stuck with me very much other than the overall impression that I wasn't a big fan of them in general. All right. Let's see. Next one comes from, where did they go? Where did it go? I lost somebody. There we go. Ben Rayner. Ben Rayner writes, hi, John. Happy New Year's. Do you think there's still a chance that Solo could be pushed to December? Yes, I do. I don't think they will, but I'm telling you, we are getting closer and closer to when this damn trailer is supposed to drop. And we're going to talk about that in Star Wars Talk Tuesday a little bit later today, but... You know, I'm the guy who says, hey, look, movies don't need to put out their trailers 6 months in advance, but it's January now. This movie's supposed to come out in May. We still haven't seen a trailer drop. Now, I told you guys 2 weeks ago that I heard from a pretty reliable source inside Disney that there were discussions going on about moving it to December. I still don't think they will. I still think it's going to stay in May, but there have been some discussions about it. I think it'll still come out in May, but look, every day that passes that we don't hear anything, or we don't see Disney putting out some heavy, legit marketing, advertising that May release date, every day that passes, I think the chances increase that they may bump it to December. But as of right now, I would still put my $5 down on them doing, still doing May. That's what I would put my $5 down on right now. But it's something we got to keep our eyes open for. Let's see. Quijano89 just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Quijano. Curtis Lopez writes in, what was Bat Mania like in 1989? Oh, you know what? I still remember. If that's when guys, help me out here. I think that's when the Tim Burton thing came out, but it was huge. It was huge. The Dark Knight had not been out for that long, which was a comic book that revolutionized Batman and redefined how people saw Batman. Batman was back then what he is now. He was the shit. I mean, it was Batman. Batman's the man. And it was pretty big back then. Thanks a lot for the question, Curtis. James Welsh writes, thoughts on Battle Angels' $175 to $200 million budget. Mistake? I think it was a mistake. Now, I may change my mind about that once I see new trailers. But so far, the trailers I've seen, the one trailer I've seen for it did not impress me. I was not a big fan of the trailer that we saw. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But I got a feeling if that's the budget, if that truly is the budget that it came in at, Yeah, I think it was a mistake. I think it was a big mistake to have the budget that high. Ann Campea writes, John, put some pants on. For the last time, lady, stop telling me how to live my life. Okay, next question. Justin is a square writes, thoughts on Supernatural season 13 so far? Okay, I have not watched Supernatural. I'm a couple episodes behind. I watched the first big chunk of episodes this season. I really like what I've been seeing, but I have missed the last few, and I'm going to wait till I get home to binge and get caught up on all the rest of them. So don't say anything more about it because I'm not caught up. I think I saw the first 5 or 6 episodes of this season. I need to get caught up, so don't say anything more about it, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I love Supernatural. I've been watching that show forever. I love that show. Let's see. Manuel Fernandez writes, have you checked out the Batman Ninja trailer yet? Yep. Thought it was lame. I know that puts me in the big, vast minority. That's cool. I'm comfortable being in the minority. I have no problem with that. I watched it and I thought, looks really gimmicky. Doesn't do it for me. So, yeah, I've seen it. Didn't love it. So, there you go. That's just my thought on it. Quijano89 writes, hola, Senor Campea. Happy New Year. Thank you so much. If Lucasfilm does in fact recast Leia in 9, when would we actually hear about it? Oh, probably if they did. And I'm starting to have hope that they will. If they did, I don't think we'd probably hear anything about it till the summer, but probably not much more beyond the summer. So my fingers are crossed. I really want them to recast Leia. I think it's the only way to properly honor Carrie Fisher and honor the character that she brought us. You've heard me go on about that forever. I think anything less is a spit in the face to the legacy of Carrie Fisher and to the character of Leia that Carrie Fisher spent her life bringing to us. So I'm really hoping that they will. I thought for the longest time they wouldn't recast, and now I'm starting to have some hope that they will. So who knows? Well, but I think summer. Summer's probably the earliest we'd hear something about that. All right. PNZ Movies writes, you brought up Witcher 3 in an episode and decided to try it out and put about 50 hours into it now. Thank you for introducing me to the series. Yeah, Witcher 3 is great. I had a ball with that game. I still need to sit down. I want to do a cutscene movie review because, I've done a couple of game cutscene movie reviews. Injustice Gods Among Us being the best I've ever seen. Last of Us was also really excellent. Battlefront 2 was not so good. Actually, that was kind of a waste of time to watch. But anyway, I want to do Witcher 3. But I'm on vacation. I haven't really had a chance to do that yet. But watch sometime this month. I will do a Witcher 3 cutscene movie review. Sorry, because I think the shortest one I saw for that was like 9 hours. I'm not sure, but I'll have to find that and get caught up on it. Thanks a lot for the question, PNZ, and I'm glad you're liking the game. All right. Next one comes to us from Really Tired 64, who writes, when you see extras talking in the background of movie scenes, do they actually have lines written for them? No. And I've been an extra in about 7 or 8 movies. And basically, they just tell you, chat amongst yourselves. And sometimes they want you to audibly chat, like just in very quiet tones, like talk like this. Sometimes they just want you moving your lips. It's usually all ad-libbed between the extras. So no, they don't actually give you actual lines. They might tell you, hey, this table over here, be in a party mood. This table over here, it's a romantic dinner. This table over here, do this or do that or do whatever. That's how they kind of handle it, but they don't give you predefined lines. When it's just like background stuff, it's not predefined lines. At least not in the experiences that I had. So there you go. All right, let's see. The other black guy writes, Happy New Year, bruv. Thoughts on Clockwork Orange? That's a classic. What is there to say about A Clockwork Orange, man? It's classic. It's like saying, what are your thoughts on Godfather? It's a classic, one of the most celebrated films of all time. It's one of those films that every movie fan needs to have in their repertoire. You have to have watched Clockwork Orange. It's just one of those films. Check it out. And actually, maybe it's a good thing you're bringing it up because maybe there are a bunch of you guys out there who still haven't seen A Clockwork Orange because it's more than 10 years old. Watch the film, enjoy the film, increase your appreciation for the entire medium of film by watching that film. Thanks for bringing it up, the other black guy. All right, Alan Jensen writes, and I lost Alan Jensen because I lose people in here. Oh, by the way, guys, I should mention this right now. If you have not sent in a super chat yet, please no more super chats because I want to make sure I get through the ones that we have in here already. All right. Alan Jensen writes, remember Justice League? What a hit. Question. Would you rather fight 100 bee-sized bears or one bear-sized bee? I'd rather fight 100 bee-sized bears. I think that would be much more easier to handle. One bear-sized bee would be impossible, I would think. I'll ask Bill Nye the next time I get together with him. Paco San Miguel writes, Happy New Year, John. Thank you so much, Paco. Appreciate that. Love your show. Hey, I recently saw the Flash Gordon movie from the 1970s. Do you think there would be room for a remake? Oh, there are many discussions about remakes going on. Actually, one not so long ago. I'm trying to remember the director. There was even a director kind of attached to its development. I don't think it ever got greenlit yet, but it was in development. And sorry, I can't pull it off the top of my head, but absolutely, I'm not a fan of the 70s Flash Gordon. I know it was especially with Ted making it cool again, but I was never that much into it. But a remake, I'm totally up for it. And believe me, there have been studios for decades looking at doing a remake of it for sure. So don't be surprised if in the next year or two we hear about one getting greenlit and going into production. Absolutely. Next one, Manuel Fernandez writes, thoughts on Logan Paul controversial Japan vlog. Sorry it's not movie related, but it's been blowing up the internet and it's all over Twitter right now. Look, honestly, I never even heard of Logan Paul until last night. Never even heard of the guy. He is crazy popular on YouTube. Apparently he's got like 15 million subscribers on YouTube, which is way more than I'll ever have in my lifetime. But never heard of the guy. And for those of you who don't know what it's talking about, this dude went into the suicide force in Japan, found a guy who'd like literally just hung himself maybe the day before and started filming it and made a vlog out of it. Was it in poor taste? Yes, it's in poor taste. I'll be honest with you. My initial reaction to seeing it is, well, that was stupid. You never should have done that. But I think him making that, I'm reading a lot of people. The only reason I found out about this because people started tweeting me, can you believe this vile, evil human being, Logan Paul, doing this? Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. I could jump on the bandwagon with everybody else, but honestly, I think it was a poor lack of judgment for him doing it. I don't think him exhibiting a poor lack of judgment makes him a vile, evil human being. Was it really stupid? Yes, it was really stupid. Was it really dumb? Yes, it was really dumb. Is it one of the most moronic things you could do if you're a popular YouTuber? Yes, it is. But, look, I have lapses in judgment. You have lapses in judgment. The difference is when you have a lapse in judgment, you don't have 15 million YouTube followers who are able to see you making your lapse of judgment. And honestly, and for all I know, who knows? Maybe this guy's a giant-sized douchebag. I don't know him in person. I don't know him personally. I think he made a poor decision. He showed lack of judgment. Maybe he's a little bit stupid for doing it. And it was just the wrong thing to do. But I honestly don't look at it as much more beyond that. I don't think it makes him the devil incarnate. I don't think it makes him the most evil guy in the world. I think he looks kind of young, and honestly, he looks a little bit stupid. And maybe he's just a little bit young and a little bit stupid and made a mistake. And I'm not going to say it's anything but stupid. It was stupid. But, I mean, honestly, I just don't see everybody jumping up and down and calling him like the reincarnation of Hitler and stuff like that. But it was stupid. It was dumb. It was the wrong thing to do. But I wouldn't paint the entire guy's character over one stupid thing like that. He didn't go out there and murder somebody. He didn't go out there and assault anybody. I mean, he made a mistake about what to make a YouTube video on. It was dumb. It was a mistake. He's paying for it. But I don't think it paints the entirety of his character. So honestly, I've talked about it enough now. It's not even worth talking about, to be honest. And yet here I am. I've just wasted 3 minutes talking about it. But I understand you asking about it, Miguel. I do. It's just, to me, it's honestly a non-story. It's a non-issue. Let's see. Sammy Salhadi writes, Happy New Year, John. Thank you so much, Sammy. Been a fan since the AMC days. Thanks for doing the great content. Well, thank you for calling it great content. I appreciate that very much. Marcus Ligenberg writes, thoughts about the rumor Ben Affleck for new boss of Disney DC film? Ignore it. It's not even worth talking about. It comes from no legitimate source. Don't even pay any attention to that. I would love it. I would love it. You guys know I've been on the Ben Affleck train for over a decade. I would love it. That's the right thing to do, but they're not going to do it. No way. Aaron Strelinsky writes, Thor has his hammer on the Vanity Fair cover. Thoughts? Oh. No thoughts. I can't remember. Did that Vanity Fair cover come out before or after Thor Ragnarok? So, no, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head what the exact situation is. I don't know which cover we're talking about specifically. If we're talking about those ones that came out weeks ago, then it might have just been, a little misdirect. I don't know. But so until I know exactly what it is you're talking about, I can't really offer too much of an intelligent insight. Not that I often offer intelligent insight anyway. Let's see. Kev X writes, is it possible Broom Kid is a setup for the new trilogy? No, the Broom Kid, I've been trying to tell people this Broom Kid, obviously, a little bit of a spoiler for The Last Jedi. If you haven't seen it yet, just be warned. Broom Kid, at the end of The Last Jedi, all that was a glimpse that the Force is still at work in the universe. That hope exists in the universe. That's all it was. We're never going to see that kid again. I practically guarantee it. I could be wrong, but I have no expectation that we're ever going to see Broom Kid again. There are going to be 1,000 Broom Kids out in the galaxy that the Force is moving through and raising up a new generation. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to be the basis for any kind of new movie whatsoever. Let's see. Devontae Brown writes, John, thoughts on 13 Reasons Why? Is it a good show and does it romanticize suicide? If so, I think Romeo and Juliet should be considered that then. Honestly, I didn't watch it, so I can't offer any insight into that. It's too bad Anne just stepped out to go shopping with my mom because Anne's watched it. I would have pulled her in here to answer that question for you, but I have not watched it, so I cannot give any insight on that at all. But as to whether it romanticized suicide, haven't seen it. Does Romeo and Juliet romanticize suicide? A little bit. Let's see. Thunder Knight 19 writes, is it just me or is there a lack of interest in the new Fantastic Beasts movie? Oh, the new Fantastic Beasts is way far away. Don't worry about it. Fantastic Beasts is going to be a big box office hit. It's going to be a smash. Hopefully it's better than the first one. Don't get me wrong. I liked the first one. I did. I liked it. But I was really expecting, no pun intended, I was really expecting some magic. You know what I mean? On screen with it. But we'll see what happens with the next one. I think they probably learned some lessons, and they're going to come back a little bit bigger, better, and stronger. So let's wait till we get to within a month or two of the movie's release, because we are still forever away from it. Too early to start talking about it, to be honest with you. Brett Buckles writes, the Force is strong with this one. You rock, John. Thank you so much, Brett. I appreciate that very much. And Happy New Year to you, too. Greg Scott Bailey, who I lost now. Here we go. Greg Scott Bailey writes, Happy New Year, John. Thank you so much. And to everyone watching, Greg just wished all of you a Happy New Year. John, you're the reason I'm pushing harder this year on my YouTube channel. Thanks for being you, man. And thanks to Anne for all she does as well. Thank you so much, Greg. And I know Anne will appreciate that as well. You guys have no idea. How many guys do you think out there have a wife or a partner who, if you went to them and said, hey, I'm going to quit my job and just do things on my own, and I don't know if I'm going to make any money or be able to pay the bills. And then your wife or husband or partner would say to you, I support you. Let's do it. That's what Anne did. Anne just said, whatever you want to do, I support it. I think this is the right move for you. I support you. Let's do it. And this wouldn't have been possible without Anne. So I'm sure she's going to appreciate hearing that, Greg. Thanks so much for the comment, man. Here we go. I keep coughing. Devontae Brown writes, they changed God Particle to Untitled Cloverfield film. Ooh, adding to the mystery. Could it be A Quiet Place? I still don't think so, but again, crazier things have happened. Jack121. Now my cough is really starting to come into play here. Jack121 writes, hey John, if Ready Player One is a smash hit, which it's looking to be, do you think Disney will be quick to rethink Tron? Happy New Year. No, I honestly don't think Ready Player One will have anything to do with Tron. Ready Player One has never been a motion picture and brought to screen. Tron has been. And they did a Tron not so many years ago, and it did not work out the way they were hoping it would. So Ready Player One coming out and doing great, I believe will have no influence, good or bad, on what they would decide to do with Tron. They need to let Tron sleep for at least a few more years, I think, then maybe revisit it. But there's a reason they pulled, because there was a plan in motion to get another Tron movie out, and Disney pulled it off the table. And I think for good reason. So we'll just have to see how that all works out. Let's see. Jake C. writes, would you be okay if Doctor Strange occasionally linked X? Let's see. Would you be okay if Doctor Strange occasionally linked X and MCU for certain team movies? Basically, one-off events that, no, that's a little too nerdy sweaty. That's the type of stuff that, ooh, those of us who've read comic books and blah, blah, yeah, but I think to the vast majority of the movie going audience, that would just be silly. And so, no, I would not want them to do that. I think that would be a lame way, to be honest with you, for them to try to incorporate the X-Men. Either bring them into the MCU and come up with your explanation about how they're there, or have them in their own separate universe, which is totally feasible too. But that, that stuff it's a little bit too inside baseball for comic book nerds. It's not the right thing to do. It'll work for you, it'll work for me and everything, but for the vast majority of the movie-going audience, it's too inside baseball. I don't think it would work. Let's see. Drinks on Me. We're down to the last couple of questions here. Drinks on Me writes, I thought Rey, Poe, and Finn were supposed to be the new Luke, Han, and Leia, but Poe and Finn have been reduced to cool side characters. Do you think their stories will ever tie into the main plot? Well, their stories are tied into the main plot for sure. I never saw them as being the new Luke, Han, and Leia. Never saw that at all. I never interpreted that at all. I've never heard anybody from Lucasfilm saying that Poe, Finn, and Rey are the new Han, Luke, and Leia. No, they're the new Poe, Finn, and Rey. You are never going to have another Han, Luke, and Leia. So let's just settle that right now. But they are basically side characters right now. But they could easily, and that's how I like them. I like the way Poe has been used. I like the way Finn has been used. Canto Bite notwithstanding. I hate that scene in the movie. But they are basically important side characters right now. But that's not to say they couldn't be repositioned and be major characters. Look, Episode 9 is going to be about Rey versus Kylo Ren. We know that. So they'll still be very important major side characters, Poe and Finn. But we've already heard from Kathleen Kennedy talking about how they've already made their plans for their next 10 movies, and they involve Finn, Poe, and Rey, and BB-8. So they're already involved in those plans. So we know they're going to be important moving forward. And maybe they get repositioned and one of the stories becomes more centric on Poe or more centric on Finn or something like that at some point. But I don't disagree with your interpretation of it right now. Right now, Poe and Finn are important nonetheless, but side characters. And that's worked for me. That doesn't mean they can't be more important later, but they are never supposed to be the new Han, Luke, and Leia. I've never interpreted it that way myself. Thanks a lot for the question, Drinks on Me. All right. Rodrigo Roca writes, hey, John, don't you think that the best way for Marvel to incorporate the X-Men would be via a multiverse, like with Arrow and Supergirl? No, because that silliness works on CW shows. I don't think it would work. I don't think that works in the movie world. I don't. Again, to me, and maybe that is what they're going to do. Totally. But to me, it's a little bit too inside baseball. Stay out of the multiverse crap. Multiverse crap is actually one of the things that turned me off comics for a long time. To me, it was just a cop-out excuse for you to do other things, yet not have the consequences of those things carry over. Just have it happen in a multiverse. So, and while it kind of works in the CW world is meant to be much simpler, is meant to be a little more silly. And they can get away with that crap there, and it works for me on that level, but in the movies, to me, it's not the same thing, and I don't think they should do it that way. That's just my opinion. Maybe Kevin Feige's got what you're thinking in mind, and we'll see if they can make it work. All right, last question of the day, and this one comes to us from Sam Fisher, and Sam Fisher writes, I'm fine with Lucasfilm recasting Leia, as long as Billy Lord gives her approval. Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree. I want Lucasfilm, you know how badly I want Lucasfilm to recast Leia. I think it's the only way to honor Carrie Fisher. It's the only way to honor the Leia character herself. Recast it and have the Leia character fulfill the plans they had for the Leia character in Episode 9. You know I believe that. But I 100% agree with you and the rest of you who would say, Billie Lourd, her daughter, as well as maybe some other important family, have to give their blessing to it. 100% agree. 100%. Because even I, who will scream until I'm blue in the face that they need to recast Leia, otherwise you're spitting in Carrie Fisher's face and spitting in the face of her legacy and everything that she's done, even though I would yell that, if Billie Lourd gets online and says, I don't want them to recast Leia, then I'm going to go, okay, then I'm going to back down. I still think it's the right thing to do, but if Billie Lourd and the family don't want it done, fine. Then you'll never hear that from me again. Absolutely. We already know the family doesn't want them to have digital reproductions of Carrie Fisher, which I also completely support. Don't just put in a digital Carrie Fisher. That would be really weird. But yeah, I think if Billie Lourd came out and was opposed to it, then that would shut me down completely. Absolutely, 100%. I'd back off it and say, well, I think it would be the best thing for the movie, but if her family doesn't want it done, in this specific circumstance, I would say honor the wishes of the family. I have a feeling Billie Lourd wants her recast to carry out the destiny, if you will, of Leia for Carrie Fisher, but we'll have to wait and see how that all kind of turns out. All right, guys, we made it through today without too many technical glitches. This is fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Don't forget, today is Tuesday, which means it is Star Wars Talk Tuesday, so a little bit later this afternoon at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 1 p.m. East Coast time, New York time. 1 p.m. East Coast time today, we got Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. Make sure you're back here and joining me for that. Special thank you to all you guys who've been joining me live and watch that. Listen, guys, if you like these videos, click the thumbs up button. Leave a comment and engage in some discussion with your fellow film fans in the discussion chat board below. Make sure you follow me on social media, simply at John Campea. Visit my Patreon page, all that good stuff. Thanks for being here today, guys. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.